Good afternoon. I'm Karen Holmes Ward. Well, did you know that Harvard is home to one of the world's largest collections of hip-hop artifacts? We're going to hear more about that later in the program. Now, we all know that Massachusetts is home to many historical firsts, from the first public library in America to the first abolitionist newspapers. Today, we take a look at some female firsts. We begin with the story of a world-renowned sculptor, the first African-American woman to receive a U.S. government art commission.
In Meta Warrick Fuller's lifetime, she defied the odds to become a renowned sculptor and won praise from Auguste Rodin, a preeminent figure in modern sculpture. But to David Fuller, Meta Warrick Fuller was simply grandmother.
Now that I'm older, I appreciate so much of what she did.
Fuller's attic studio in her home on Warren Road in Framingham is recreated here in the Danforth Art Museum at Framingham State University, a studio where she brought plaster to life, shaping the images of those known around the world, like Amelia Earhart, and those closest to her.
She did you at one point too, right?
I got that at home. It wasn't bronze or anything, but she said I had a nice shaped head.
Fuller was born in 1877 in Philadelphia, studied art in Paris, and moved to Framingham after marrying Dr. Solomon Fuller in 1909. Despite the expectations of her husband and society, she continued to create art.
She really was kind of pushing the boundary of what was expected for African Americans and women in general.
She went as far as having a separate studio built and keeping it a secret from her husband.
As they walked hand in hand down Warren Road in their Sunday walk, she one day said, "See that building right there? That's my house that I built because I can do my artwork there and I can have my students come there."
Her work made history and marked history. In 1907, Fuller became the first African-American woman to receive a U.S. government art commission. 6 years later, she was hired to mark the 50th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation.
So she chose to depict African Americans kind of with strength, with dignity, where at that point a lot of sculptures, and even after her time, a lot of sculptures were showing African Americans in kind of rags, chains, looking up to other people for kind of being their savior, for help.
In 1999, her statue titled Emancipation was installed in Harriet Tubman Park in Boston's South End.
It talked about freedom, and it talked about breaking away from that hold of man to man. I brought my grandson this summer to that park and told him about that.
David Fuller says this permanent exhibit at the Danforth would make his grandparents proud.
It's like a continual daily appreciation.
I think our major problem here is the desegregation of the ghetto.
Another trailblazer receiving new appreciation is the civil rights queen, Constance Baker Motley.
I want people to know her name and appreciate the civil rights movement through the eyes of a woman, through the lens of gender.
Tamika Brown Nagin is Dean of Harvard's Radcliffe Institute for Advanced Study and the author of a new book exploring the life of this pioneering lawyer and judge.
She argued and won 9 of 10 cases at the U.S. Supreme Court, the first black woman known to argue at the U.S. Supreme Court.
When Motley earned her law degree from Columbia in the 1940s, there were few women lawyers and even fewer African-American women in the profession. She found her first job with future Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall at the NAACP's Legal Defense Fund.
He hired her on the spot in 1945 when she sought a job there, and that was a very different experience from her applying to a New York City law firm where a white male partner essentially closed the door on her.
Marshall and Motley worked together for decades, fighting to end segregation in public schools and universities, but she still faced hurdles.
Motley was disappointed that Marshall did not choose her as a successor when he left the NAACP Legal Defense Fund in 1961.
You, Constance Baker Motley.
As Motley's career advanced, she added more firsts to her resume. The first black woman elected to the New York State Senate, and the first black woman to be named a federal judge.
One of the things that I found so admirable, she appreciated that she was the first, but she didn't want to be the last.
The city of Cambridge is celebrating 19th century African American women with a self-guided walking tour developed by the Cambridge Black History Project.
My name is Paula Paris, and I am a native Cantabrigian, which means a person that lives in Cambridge. And I'm here representing the Cambridge Black History Project.
The walking tour is one of many projects this volunteer organization has developed out of pride for their city.
That was actually proposed in 2020 by Professor Taya Miles at Harvard. The topic is Abolitionist Women and Their World.
Locations including the former home of Harriet Jacobs.
After she made her way to Cambridge through a very harrowing escape from her enslavement, she hosted a lot of Harvard students and professors because black students could not stay in the dormitories.
From here, it's a short walk to the home of Mary Walker, an early African American property owner.
She acquired the property through a white family from Virginia who turned the title over to her.
This at a time when it was not legal for a woman to officially own property. There are 9 stops on the tour, many hidden in plain sight, reminding us that the first step to uncovering history is to look for it.
People should know there are notable monuments and markers for African Americans who had been in Cambridge for many years.
Our thanks to Chronicle's Anthony Everett and Shayna Seymour for that historic look at women in Massachusetts.